Hi, so welcome back to the second part of the video for your leek and bacon tartlets. The pastry's been chilling for just over half an hour in the fridge, and hopefully your bacon and your leeks are lovely and cool now. We're just going to take the layer of cling film off in a moment, but first of all, if you just take a nice handful of your plain flour and just scatter it all over the worktop. You don't need too much, just to stop it from sticking. It's a good idea to have some on your hands as well, and just pop some onto the rolling pin. And then carefully unwrap your pastry, which should now be a little bit firmer. And then I just give it a little roll round in the flour, just to give it a bit of a coating. And we're going to press it down. Now there's different ways that you can do this. You're making 12, I'm going to do 6. You can divide it into golf ball sized pieces and then just flatten them into circles to line your tin, or you can use a rolling pin. So I'm just going to press it down and show you with the rolling pin first of all. You may get a few cracks to start with. Don't worry, they will smooth out as you are rolling. Remember to keep lifting and turning your pastry so that it doesn't stick. And we're just going to cut out either 6 or 12 circles, and we're going to pop those nicely into our lined muffin tin, which you greased earlier. And just make sure there's a little bit of flour underneath, not too much. We don't want to dry the pastry out, but we want to make sure it's not sticking. So we're just going to stretch it. So a couple of rolls back and forth, and you can just roll away from you if you like to stretch it out. And then again, check there's still flour underneath, just turn it round, and you'll see it should hold its shape nicely, so it shouldn't be crumbling or cracking there. And then just keep turning it a quarter turn each time until you're happy that you can get your 6 or your 12 circles. Now I'm using a large 10cm cutter to make sure it covers the bottom and the side. So I'm going to just keep checking to make sure I can get 6, and I'm almost there on that one. Now you can use the fluted or the straight edge on your cutter. Always cut towards the side, so go as close to the side as you can. That way you don't have to re-roll your pastry too many times. So just give it a little twist until you can feel the pastry coming loose. I'm obviously just doing 6, you're going to do your 12. Any leftover pastry you can roll back up into a ball and keep that and use it for something else. So you could use it for some mini quiches. You could even use it for some pasties if you wanted to the next day. And then when you've taken away the excess, like I said, roll it into a ball, reuse your cling film and pop that back into the fridge, or you can freeze this short crust pastry. So just roll it so it's nice and smooth, so you've got quite a lot left over there. I'm going to just wrap it to seal it so it doesn't dry out, and then that's going to go straight back into the fridge. So just twist it into a little parcel, pop it back in the fridge. If you either pop the oven on or ask your grown-ups to pop it on for about 180 degrees and usually sort of 10 to 15 minutes to preheat. Now take your cases, and when you've greased them, you just want to very gently push the pastry down to the bottom. So just use your thumb and just make sure it comes up to the side. So very gently push it down to the bottom, and you want it to go as high up on your muffin tin as possible, which is why it's really important to grease all the way around the sides, and just make sure there are no holes in there because we don't want our filling to leak. And do that with all of your circles. So very gently just push them in. You can use the bottom of the rolling pin as well to very gently just push them round, and then use your hands to do the sides. So whichever you're more comfortable with, and then just make sure they go right up to the top and just make them look lovely and smooth. If you're somebody who likes everything to be really, really neat, once they're baked, any excess you can trim off the top if you need to. So if you're somebody who likes them really nice and straight, then once they're cooked, just cut that overhang, that extra pastry, off the top. Some people like them rustic, and they like to have a little bit of a pattern on there, so it's however you like yours to be. So just keep going until you've lined all of your tins. And then the mixture's really nice and simple that we're going to put together. So like I said in the first video, just make sure that your filling is nice and cold when it goes in. So you could cook your bacon and your leeks and your filling in the morning and just leave it resting, pop it in the fridge once it's cool, and just keep it till later on. Go right up to the top. And just look for any gaps, because if you have any gaps in there, then you'll find that the filling will leak out to the bottom. If you do, just wet your fingers and just push the pastry gently together rather than putting an extra piece of pastry on top, which tends to just crumble and come away. Just use sort of wet fingers just to patch up any holes that may appear on there. But you shouldn't get any. If you're nice and gentle, you should be okay. And just go around, just make sure you're happy that they're all up to the top on there, and that's your cases lined. So with your filling, nice and simple, you're going to bring your bacon mixture forward. I'm going to use a slightly bigger spoon on there. So I've got my leeks and my bacon in there. I'm going to take my grated cheddar cheese that you prepared earlier, just add that into the bowl. Now you're using 4 eggs, I'm using 2. So we're going to just mix this together in a moment. So I'm going to crack 2 eggs in there. I'm going to whisk them up in my empty bowl first of all, but I'm just going to use a spoon. You can use a whisk, you can use a knife, or you can use a spoon. Just check for any eggshell. I've got a little tiny smidgen that's snuck in there, that's it. Then with your knife or your spoon, whisk them together. Then we're going to mix them all before we share them out between the cases. So I'm going to get a slightly smaller spoon just to put them in. I'm going to use my tablespoon. And then the egg mixture goes into the cheese, the bacon and the leeks, and we're just going to mix that round. Just make sure everything's coated nicely. And that lovely cheese is going to melt into your tartlets. So you don't need a lot of liquid in here, but just try and make sure that egg coats everything. Just move everything around the bowl. And you want a nice balance of cheese, bacon and leeks in all of them. And then the egg's going to help them to rise. It's going to fill them up to the very top. And then I always start off with putting about a tablespoon of mixture into each one first of all, and then just keep going till you've used all your mixture. So once you're happy that your egg has coated everything, all you need to do is take your tablespoon, pop a tablespoon into each one, and just keep going till you've used everything. Try and scoop a nice balance of cheese and bacon and egg in there, and just press it into the bottom. And then we're just going to keep going until we're up to the top. So we don't want them to overflow, but we just want them up to the top. If you've got any extra filling, then you can roll out that pastry that you had left over. And just go so they're nice and level with the top. So I've got a little smidgen left. I'm just going to share that out nicely. So they're all about the same. If you want them to be really, really cheesy, then you could add some extra on top. And then just go around, make sure they're all about even. I'm going to take a little piece of bacon out of there to pop into that one, just so that they're all nice and fair. And then there your tarts all ready and in the cases aligned. Now, if like me you have any flour on the tin, just take a clean cloth and just run around the edge, just because that will burn a little bit, it'll go a little bit dark. So just go around, make sure your tin's looking nice and tidy. And then these are going to take 20 minutes. You'll notice your pastry goes nice and golden, and it'll start to come away from the edge of the tin slightly, and your mixture will rise and that cheese will have melted. So 20 minutes on 180. Just make sure they've puffed up and they're lovely and golden brown. Ask an adult to take them out with the oven gloves once they're finished. And then I would usually leave them for 10 to 15 minutes just to rest in the tin so that they come away from the edge and they don't stick. If you try and take them out when they're too warm, then they tend to crumble and crack. And if you let them go too cold, then they sort of relax and stick to the tin. So 10 to 15 minutes, and just run a knife around the edge to loosen them. And hopefully if they've been greased really well, they will just slide out, and then you can enjoy them for lunch or dinner. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. We've got lots of sweet and savoury recipes to come. Send me your pictures, because I love seeing what you've been making, and let me know what other fillings you put in there as well. Or you can make this as one large quiche, just add a little bit of time for the cooking. So let me know how you get on, and I will see you again next week. Take care.